Recent run that equity markets have had in Europe. Let's ask that question to David Costa, Dean and Collegiate Professor at Robert Kennedy College, joins us live from Zurich. Very good morning to you. Nice to see you. So we've had a decent run in the European equity markets, and in recent days, much of that leadership came from the banks on this view that banks were undervalued. We're looking at a price to book of about 0.8. That's far lower than the 10-year average of about close to 1.3. How do these scandals and some of the bleeding that's going on in some parts of Europe, especially one bank in Italy and a lot of these banks in Spain, make you feel about investing in banks? Is it really a pick and choose sort of strategy?
Well, I think the banks had a fantastic run since June. And of course, we're going to see some sort of cooling off at the moment because we have still a lot of uncertainty. And we have seen this latest news of potential scandal, problems in capital, problem on hiding losses. And so, because this comes from two of the biggest European economies, I think that at the moment, it might be the right time to take some of the profit on. That said, there are still opportunities in terms of bank, but you have to be, as you said, very careful and understand if that bank is really a solid business model and is not going to have another downturn, which is very difficult to predict at this stage. So I will be cautious at this point because of the huge run they already had.
In terms of some, moving away from the Italian bank, BMPS, or even the Spanish banks, because the bleeding will probably continue. Even when you take a look at Deutsche Bank yesterday, investors somehow decided to take out all the peripheral numbers and focus on the capital position. But that alone, of how they arrived at that number, is also creating a lot of debate. So how do you approach even one of the majors like Deutsche?
But I think my approach here will be fairly simplistic. I will try to look and understand what is the model. Is that bank competitive? Is it going to be competitive on the next year, on the next 2 and 3 years? So I look at source of competitiveness that makes that bank somehow different than the others. And down the road, probably, we're going to see more profit. So I really try to have more of a strategic approach and try to understand if that bank has achieved the clarity, which some of the banks don't have yet. And that is what really impacts and creates nervousness on the market when we have those things which are not forecasted, which were nowhere to be seen on the balance sheet before. That creates a lot of nervousness. So I think I will try to stick with banks where I understand what they're doing and what is the business model going forward.
We are also gearing up for a suite of European PMIs in the run-up to the big one, non-farm payrolls in the U.S. Given that FTSE Euro First already hit nearly 2-year highs, what would your position be as you go into trade today?
Well, I would say today, if you have a very short-term strategy, it might be that in the short term, we have some correction. We have not to forget that, for example, in Italy, we have the election coming up in February, and that creates an element of uncertainty and potentially money taking from the markets. Of course, if you have a longer view, you might see that some of the indexes are still undervalued, and you take a longer view. But in terms of trading this market, I think at the moment, everybody's saying there is no reason for those stocks to go much lower. And that is exactly the moment where you need to start to worry, because there will be some unexpected uncertainty on the political front especially, which will impact what are the returns of the bank. So I think even if we have this repayment to the European Central Bank, we have still some uncertainty there. Very selective. Opportunities are there, but you have to be very selective.
Yeah, being selective seems to be the motto of the day. Thank you so much for that. Have a great day, and a profitable one at that as well. David Costa of Robert Kennedy College joining us from Zurich there. Plenty of